Alhamdulillahi wahda, wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da, amma ba'd. We have been discussing the issue related to janaza. So what is the ruling if there were multiple janaza taking place? If there are several bodies, it is still better to perform janaza for each of them individually. But obviously when there are quite a few of the people and the time is a bit restrained, especially when it happens in haram, as people observe during Hajj season, then you just get one janaza done for so many different people, and it is perfectly fine to do so. And then if you were to do it in that way, like you're doing for everyone, just take the most pious, most knowledgeable, most learned person to be offered the janaza for the first, and then subsequently the second one, and so on. If one janaza has been done, then they must be put in order. The person who is closest to the imam would be the most pious one, and the male should be on this side towards imam, and then the children, and then if they were hermaphrodites, and then women. So like this. So this is qibla. So you would have men, children, if they were hermaphrodites, and then women. That's how the saf would go. Imam and followers would follow them like this. Okay, the followers at the back. Now, should be ideally odd numbers, saf 3, 5, 7. If ideally should make minimum 3 safs, if possible 7 safs, depending on how many people are there. The men are to be placed nearest to the imam, as I mentioned, then boys, and then if there were other people as well. If the imam prefers, he may gather them in a line extending from one side to the other, horizontally. You don't have to put in that order. You can put them all in one line. And the person like this. So the men, children, then hermaphrodites, and women. And then imam would stand next to men, and then followers, muqtadis, behind him. What about burial of all of those? If there's a necessity, there's not much space left, as happened with the people, with the martyrs of Uhud, with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they were put 2 2s and 3s in the same grave. So if that happens, the arrangement would be different. Means the person who is more knowledgeable, more pious, should be closest to the qibla. And then the one who knows more Quran, this is how it should go. And this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did for the people and shuhada of Uhud. He would ask who is more knowledgeable, who is more scholarly with regards to his understanding of Quran, and they would put him in front, facing qibla, and someone behind him. Now, what if someone attends janaza, but they're late? So if they find imam silent, they should wait. They cannot join imam until the imam says takbir. They must hear a takbir to enter the funeral prayer. So if you just turned up and imam has already said takbir, you didn't hear it, first, second, or third takbir, and he's reciting something quietly, don't just join straight away, because the rukun of prayer is iqab, this takbir, saying Allahu Akbar, and you can only enter with takbir, and the takbir has to be done with imam. You can't do takbir on your own, so that rukun would be missed. So that is why you have to join imam with one of the takbirs, any of the takbirs. Okay, so this is an important point. Most people are unaware of this. So you wait till the next takbir is said, and then join imam, inshallah ta'ala. And then you recite whatever needs to be recited. And once the imam saying salam, you could just say your takbirat on your own. The mixed takbirat, you remember all 4 takbirat are the arkan of the prayer. So standing and 4 takbirat. So if the Imam said final takbir and he says salam, you've just done one takbir with Imam, you can just do the rest of the takbirat on your own. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, while the body is just still be there. They haven't lifted it. It would take 10 seconds to do 3 takbirat. Okay. Now, if someone who was there with Imam, he heard the first takbir, yet he was either playing with something, trying to turn off his mobile phone, trying to answer some important call, trying to do something. So he joined Imam, yet he did not join Imam straight after takbir, but he heard the first takbir. Now he can join Imam even in the middle because he heard it with Imam. So he doesn't need to wait till the next takbir. Means he just delayed him. He's joined late, but he heard takbir from Imam. Okay. If Imam has said 4 takbirat, not yet salam, so he has missed the prayer. That is the most correct view. Although Imam Muhammad and Abu Yusuf rahimahumullah, they said if you have said your takbirat before Imam, before the coffin has been lifted, then it should be okay. So after Imam says salam, they can do their 4 takbirat on their own. So that is permissible as well. What about janazah being done in the masjid? It is makruh tahriman. It's highly disliked that the janazah is done in the masjid where 5 prayers are done, while the dead body is inside the masjid. A person, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a person who prays over the deceased within the masjid receives no reward. And the reason being that the masjid is not built for janazah. It is built to glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to make dua for someone specifically. And there is a possibility that deceased person may have some issues. He may soil the masjid for one reason or the other. So one should try and avoid that. Now, if the dead body is outside and people are inside, even that is not okay. There must be some people with the dead body outside. Rest could stay inside. Imam Nasafi held this masjid, and he suggests that people can join the janazah prayer from inside the masjid as long as the Imam is with the deceased person outside. So there is a leeway in that. So some people and the dead body are outside of the masjid and rest of the people are inside the masjid. It is disliked as well to block the people off, to cause disturbance to the people, blocking their way, putting a big tents, people gathering outside of the masjid, they're just filling the streets. That is not appropriate. What about newborn babies? If the baby is born with some signs of life, either they cried, they made some noise, they moved some of their limbs or winked their eyes, blinked it, some movement to suggest that the baby is alive rather than stillbirth, then he should be named, he should be washed, min ghusl, and he should be prayed over. The janazah should be done for that. Obviously, you wrap him some sheets and then do janazah on the baby because he breathed or he had some signs of life. And if none of that happened, then you just wash it and wrap and then bury it. You should name as well, but don't need to do janazah prayer. What if someone, a small boy or a girl, they were captive, and the parents are obviously non-Muslim. So what is the ruling for that child? Because generally, the children who are not pubertal yet, they are considered upon Islam. But when they come to the age of discernment, that could be about 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or any of those groups, and there could be some intelligent boys, girls, and they understand, they mention about their religion, if they know what the religion is and they're clear on this, know some basic tenets, then they could be considered whichever religion they follow. And there's a ruling that they take the religion of their parents. So if the parents are non-Muslim and they have been captivated by Muslims in the prison, the child, if he dies for whatever reason, would the janazah be done? So the preferred view is that janazah is not done on that boy or girl unless they proclaim their iman beforehand. Same is true of anyone whose parents are not Muslim and they were brought to Islamic territory. So for them, this is in the Islamic state, and now they're considered that the parents were non-believers and they were not in the country. The child has been abducted and was brought here to the Islamic territory. So now this child has the government or the head of state, head of Muslim state, as his wali, as his caretaker, his custodian. So he would be responsible. So since he is Muslim, the child would be offered a janazah prayer on him if he dies. Imam Abu Hanifa actually held his view on this issue. This is one of those 14 matters where Imam Abu Hanifa didn't give his opinion. He said, rather, I would hold it. And that's the piety. That's the utmost care of these, pious predecessors. So they would not speak unless they have got conviction, they have enough evidence, and they trust what they're saying is correct. Because whenever they speak on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, means they are saying this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have said if there was a revelation about it. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would expect people to do. So this is a big claim. So that is why giving a fatwa, giving a ruling is a big responsibility. So we should be very careful about mentioning or saying those things to anyone. Imam Muhammad's view is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not punish someone with no sin. It means the small children. What if you happen to have a non-Muslim relative and they died? So if there was no one else to wash them or bury them, they can be washed by a Muslim relative. We can go and help them out, but they do not deserve to be respected. Hence, you would not follow all the sunnahs and the most appropriate ways of, putting the camphor on the prayer place, because they do not do sajda prayers. We do not give them sunnah way of ghusl, means you do not give them wudu. You just wash them, like as in you just put some buckets of water, 1 or 2 buckets of water, and wrap them in a sheet and then put them in a ditch, rather than doing it in the most appropriate way, which is in keeping with the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, so we can follow the dead body from distance as well. Likewise, an apostate, the person who has left Islam after being a Muslim for some years or some time, and he's just put in a hole as opposed to a formal grave, means we do not show any respect and honor for them. The Muslim cannot enter a grave of a non-Muslim to lower the body. You rather put them down from outside. There are certain people who we cannot offer janazah to, we shouldn't offer janazah to. And this is differed upon. Some imams would allow, some wouldn't. In Hanafi school, a rebel who rebels against the just Muslim leader is not entitled to be offered janazah on, for obvious reason, even if he's a Muslim. Likewise, a highway robber, if he dies obviously in that act as a, counter fire from police or army, or by the defendants. A murderer who killed his victims by strangulating them means a brutal murderer. Or someone who is a transgressor to the point where he would take arms to cause trouble to people. So these are not deserving of any respect or honor. So you do not offer janazah on them, because you want to ensure that the people learn some lesson from it. Another person is someone who has been quite racist, tribalist, family feud, so he just was trying to, on that basis, causing trouble to others. And in that, he got killed because he was trying to torture others just for tribal prejudice. And this is a punishment. And finally, terrorists who during the day or night terrorize people with weapons and cause them trouble. Now, there's difference of opinion. So the book that we're going through, Nur-ul-Idaah, so Allama Shirun rahmatullah alayhi, would consider that they can be given ghusl. Whereas in Umdatul Fiqh, which is written by Mufti Shafiq Uthmani, rahmatullah alayhi, father of Mufti Taqi Uthmani, rahmatullah alayhi, hafidhahullah, at the order or request of his Sheikh Maulana Shafiq Ali Thanvi, rahmatullahi alayhi. So in that book, you would find that they shouldn't even be given ghusl. But so you can see that there's some difference of opinion on ghusl. What about the one who commits suicide? If someone does it without extreme pain or duress, they're just being impatient, they're just being, overly sensitized or following what they see in cinema and theaters, over dramatizing the shortcomings or their little trials, rather than returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then even if they're a believer, they should not be offered janazah. Although Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Muhammad would say we should offer janazah for them. Imam Abu Yusuf held that the prayer is not to be performed. So within Hanafi school, you will find two views. The Tarafain, Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Muhammad, they allow it. Imam Abu Yusuf, he doesn't. So if it was done due to some extreme trial and pain and sufferings, or done in an accidental way, didn't mean it, tried it, but so then you would offer it. Otherwise, we shouldn't. What about someone who killed his own parents? There should be no janazah for them. And that makes sense. That's a general thing. However, the fatwa is on the fact that the janazah should be offered. The reason they're saying is, if they're killed in qisas, the murderer killed his parents, one of the parents, and then in retaliation, he is being killed by the forces of law. Is that person worthy of being offered janazah on? The preferred view is that he is, because now he has taken his punishment. He's got his punishment. So janazah should be offered, and we leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in certain situations wouldn't offer janazah. Rather, he would encourage others to do it. And the reason was so as to not make it an example for people. You know what? So what? If we did it, if we committed suicide, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would make dua for us, we'll be fine. Rather, he would say, I don't offer janazah on this person. You, Sahaba, you go and do it. He would appoint certain people to do. So janazah has to be done ideally for every Muslim, except that there must be a clear message given to the masses that this person has done something utterly wrong and he should not be honored or respected for that reason. So maybe the mainstream leaders, scholars, those who people look up to as their examples, so they shouldn't offer, but other people can offer janazah on them. Okay, so that's it. Quick one, just a quick recap of janazah, inshallah ta'ala. So we move on next week to how to bury. So the ghusl is done, shrouding is done. Now we've offered janazah on the dead person. Finally, how to bury them in the grave. And once that's done, we'll be looking at how to do Isal al-Thawab and many other things related to this dead person, inshallah ta'ala. Okay. So the best place to offer janazah would be in open ground. In fact, in Muslim countries, outside of the masjid, they have a big area. When we say they should not offer janazah inside the masjid, means where the 5 daily prayers are done. But a courtyard, a small, open place outside of the masjid, within the boundary though, not of the masjid, not a prayer place, but sort of a garden, a lawn or something like that. They normally dedicate a space for, janazah prayer, funeral prayer. So it should be offered there. And if that's not possible, then even at the graveyard. So there are places dedicated for janazah prayer in the graveyard. So you should be doing there, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.